When it comes to EVE Online, every player wants to know the most effective tactic available. You want to know the meta. The meta controls everything. It determines what will and will not happen. Knowing the meta will alter your views, make you question your reality. It might even make you laugh. And now, you're part of it. You're watching The Meta Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Meta Show. Today is April the 15th. For you history buffs out there, April the 15th is a crazy day in history. A lot of things happen on April the 15th. The Titanic sank. Abraham Lincoln died. It's Jackie Robinson Day in baseball. And most importantly, Hole Control just online a new Keep Star in J-Space. So this day is going to go down in history.
Incredible.
Hi, guys. Mark, welcome. How are you?
Hello, Brisc. It's me, Mark. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Meta Show. We're so happy that you're here. We love having you. Some of you have already noticed, yes, I have acquired some bling. This is made of pure blue loot, with which I will now use to flex on all of you poor, destitute null boys. You can see what kind of opulent wealth we have here in J-Space, and we are going to talk about the opulent wealth of J-Space when we introduce my good friends Jace Rollins and Lux Invicta from the Hole Control Alliance. Hello, boys. Thank you for coming.
Hey, thanks for having us.
We're going to talk more about their stuff here in just a little bit. Because
we've got some fun stuff to talk about in nullsec before we get to wormhole time. Okay,
yeah, we'll do that. You go first.
We have some fun things now. Listen. Obviously, we're going to talk about X-47. Obviously, we're going to talk about fraternity getting their butts kicked in the North and how we are just a hand's breadth away from finally finishing this war. But before that, man, this has been a bad week for Pandemic Horde. Let me tell you.
Yeah, not great.
And you might see the electricity in my eyes because I'm quite enjoying myself. And there's a bunch of different things that happened this week. So we're going to make that, then we're going to skip straight to the Nullsec Power Hour and talk about all the bad shit that has happened to Horde in the span of just like 5 days. All right. The first thing, and I just want to highlight this because this was a post that just made me giggle. And like a schoolgirl, but in a good way. This guy is a member of Pandemic Horde, and he writes this post about how exploration sucks. And so what does he say? All right, Mark, you're screwed up. What does he say? I'll fix you.
You're fine.
He goes to a random pocket in Peregrine Falls, not too far from their staging. He says, he goes in and they're like, please leave, this is rental space. And he goes to another spot, another region, please leave, this is rental space. Then he goes to fraternity space, who are blue with these guys, and says, hey, we don't do the sites in your area, get out. Can you imagine these poor little hordelings, all they're desperate to do is go and spend like 5 minutes out there trying to run some fun sites, and guess what happens? They're not allowed.
Yeah.
Why aren't they allowed? Because it's rental space.
It's tough, man, when you're just bogged down by the bureau. Now, my understanding is in other regions of space, I can only speak for my own, but my understanding is that in other regions of space, you can just kind of go do that. And it's not too much trouble. People just let you come and go. What an idea.
You know, if you really, my main answer to these guys is, if you are upset, and the guy says, this probably sounds like goon propaganda. It does sound like goon propaganda because the main answer to this thing is Karma Fleet is recruiting. I'm not going to spell it because it's hard because I can't really type very well with my little pen thingy because I'm not a good, there you go. Karma Fleet is recruiting. Listen, if you are a hordeling and you are upset because you can't go explore anywhere because you are surrounded by region after region after region of fucking blues, guess what? join the Imperium, and then you can go and explore in Horde space, and they'll leave you alone.
Or
amazing.
Alternatively, you could just you can come out my way. We don't have blues at all. I don't know what a blue is.
I'm just saying. I'm just
saying. There are other options.
And it's not like, and hey, you know what? If Karma Fleet isn't recruiting, or they don't like you for some reason, maybe, you know, you're like, you know, your name is Pro God or something, and you can't get in. Well, I'm sure Amok will take you.
That's true.
Don't worry. And then, of course, if you're blacklisted from Goons, well, in it, we recruit off the blacklist, so we'll get you in that way. Anyway, that was the first. So this was kind of like, this wasn't even the hors d'oeuvres for the feast that was Horde Tears this week. The real Horde Tears came like last night when, and I have to say, it couldn't have happened to a better guy. We see this little battle report pop up. What is it? Well, if you look, it looks at this. Oh, well, this looks like a pretty good fight. 150 billionists lost on the Deepwater Hooligans Road Capel side. Over here, we've got 304 billionists on the Horde side and the NC side. Wow, that seems like a good fight. No, this was yet again another example of Deepwater Hooligans doing what they do best, and that is make Horde pay for its hubris. They kill a Revenant and a Vendetta and a Hell, and they almost killed a fourth super. They almost killed a second Hell before the Hordelings finally got their shit together and managed to push these guys off. The poor guy that lost these ships is this gentleman here, Deathkiller 21. Who is Deathkiller 21? You probably don't know him, although you may know him because he's been in like every single alliance in the game at one point. In fact, he was in it until, let me pull up the exact quote. Darkshines reminded me, I said, wasn't that Deathkiller 21 guy in the initiative? And he said, yes, he was kicked from it for being an intolerable idiot.
Oh, good.
So he made his way through a variety of different groups, finally making it over to Horde, which is where, frankly, all of the intolerable idiots that wash out of the Imperium seem to end up. Comes over here, and we learn the story of what happened. So Deepwater apparently had been watching him for quite a while, and they knew that he was willing to YOLO around the Vendetta and the Rev and all these big ships. And so they caught him while he was out doing his normal routine. And they spent about a month seeding dreads using alts through Horde, which, you know, I don't know if you wormhole guys have this thing. Like, I'm sure you're very much more, how can I say it nicely? So you're very much more probing in your recruitment standards, that it's pretty hard probably. Like if I were going to try to slip a spy alt into hold control, I'm willing to bet I probably wouldn't be able to do that. But you can do that pretty easily in Horde, regardless of the group. I've had an alt in Horde for 5 years now, and they still haven't found him yet. I'm just saying. And I think a lot of these guys don't realize how easy it is to get into some of these null groups, but the guys that do, like Deepwater Hooligans, managed to make it happen. So they amassed a dread cache in Horde's own staging and then handed them out to people to get them ready for this fight. Deathkiller goes out. He does his normal thing. Now, there is a little bit of a debate here. Now, the Deepwater guys say that they were able to get into Horde comms and scream at them in multiple channels to light hick bubbles on the Keepstar, which was designed to stop their supers from being able to warp over and stop the bleeding. And it took a couple of those guys getting killed. You can see them on the battle report. You can see a couple of them at the bottom here on the battle report. Well, if I can, let me go to the summary where it says losses. You can see down here, there's a Pilgrim and some others that were killed that were out there. So it seems obvious like they were doing that. Now, Horde says those were not, it wasn't actual good, normal, like regular Hordelings that were stupid enough to just follow blindly what someone was screaming at them in comms, that it was actually blue alts to the bad guys that did it. Regardless, one way or the other, whether it was that or the other thing, this is a pretty freaking great story. And the result was the Horde guys lost some really big stuff, and people were really upset, and it was just kind of funny. And I have to say, I always giggle out of control when they manage to bait these guys off a crab beacon into responding with a lot of really expensive stuff, and then the expensive stuff really gets hit. That's pretty good. And then, of course, Deepwater Hooligan says they managed to loot all the wrecks, including the Officer Fit Vendetta, which is nice. So
I did hear it argued in the discussion that happened after that. I don't know if it was on Reddit or what, but I did hear it argued that, but it's going to be so hard for Deepwater to replace all of those dreads. And that may be true. Dread prices are much too high right now. Certainly that is something that needs to be addressed, but I think it's probably a little bit harder, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brisc. I don't have a lot of experience in this field specifically. It may be a little bit harder to replace Revenants and Vendettas. I don't know that as a fact. I'm just speculating. Just a little bit harder to replace
just a bit harder
Pirate Supers. So
just a bit harder.
Yeah, this is a rough one. I saw someone else saying last night they had audio from Horde comms while this was all going down. I don't know if that is real. I was looking for that, because if we had that, that would be the cherry on top of this chocolate Horde tier sundae that we are consuming right now. But unfortunately, I don't have that. If I did, I would play it for you guys. But I'll tell you, the whole concept, the whole idea, like this is what I love about this game. And it's a standard thing, and it happens to guys with their AT ships and Fred Von Hole keeping an eye on them. It happens to these guys in Faction Supers. It happens to these guys in Faction Titans. It happens to these guys in Faction Dreads. People are always watching you, and they will see a pattern of behavior. And if they see it, and if they see you doing stupid shit, your stuff is going to die. That's just the nature of it. And that's why it's one of the things I love about this game. So there you go. That's two. Right. So you got, all right, so first of all, you got the poor Hordeling that can't find any sites and keeps getting told he's in rental space. He needs to join Imperium. Second, you got this shit going down where they lose big things in front of them. And then what happened last week? Well, last Friday, and we talked about this on the Meta Show on Saturday. Last Friday, the X-47 armor timer, we were successful. The Imperium was successful in smacking our dear friends around in X-47. 5 plates on that Keepstar, which meant that the armor timer took forever. But even after downtime, we managed to do it. And then the next day, we find out, all right, the timer is going to be set for late Monday. Are the bad guys going to show up? Are they going to come? Are they going to have fun? Are they going to come fight us? Are they going to fight us on the armor timer? They've got other structures they can use in the system if they need to warp away. If the keep dies, are they going to form? And they didn't form. Yeah.
They did not form at all. You can see right here a whopping 126 of the bads decided to show up. They lost 188 ships. We lost fewer than 100. We lost 134, fewer than them, which is funny. But a lot of these ships that were lost, I don't think they were anything special. And then, of course, the Keepstar died very quickly. It was one of the quickest Keepstar kills I can remember in a while, because we read almost, there was no tie-dye almost at all throughout the fight. I think it got up to maybe to 70% or something at one point. But that was it. Hi, Tilted Timmy. How are you? At the end of the day, the Keep died, and it was just beautiful. And we had a lot of good photos of it. Seriously did a good video. I'll play this in the background while we talk about it a little bit. And this is sped up from tie-dye, but it doesn't have to be sped up too much. But we had over 1,000 people show up, because as I exhorted last week on the Meta Show, the war was not over just because X-47 armor time was done. We still had to come back. These guys could have formed. They could have decided to do something if they wanted to. They could have decided to try to do what we would have done, I think, in their situation, which would be to harass the shit out of folks, mess with the fleets as they're coming and going, try to find ways to pick people off, and just generally be assholes to these guys while they're trying to do the fight. That's typically what we would have done. I don't know why they chose not to, other than, I guess, they'd gotten tired of losing that week. I don't know. Mark, would you guys have fought on an armor timer like this, or on a final timer like this? Would you guys have shown up just for shits and giggles, or would you have run away like Fraternity did? That's a loaded question, I know.
Yeah, I know. There's only one group that I know of that refused to fight on timers like that, and they don't exist anymore. So I'd say pretty confidently, everybody, I mean, nobody ever wants to feed too hard, right? But given the opportunity, and they certainly do have the means, the resources, the numbers, the personnel to do it. It's just a matter of, do you want it? Do you want it? And seems like on Monday they did not want it. So I'm sure it's already replaced, whatever. But shit.
Jay Slux, would you guys have fought? Would you guys have fought? I bet you guys would have fought.
Is this like a rhetoric question?
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Exactly. So I'll speed this up to the very end because this is a 20-minute long video. But one of the things I was very pleased about was the fact that the bads did not show up meant that we could big dick our Titans on the very end. And so my avatar on Brisc, which almost never gets any work, never gets any work.
Look at this.
I got on the kill mail, which was nice. So I appreciated that. It made me very happy. So there is the Keep Star death. You can see 5 plates. I mean, look at this. This right here.
So obnoxious.
It's just so goddamn obnoxious. It is a dick move. You're just, he's going to die, but you're going to make everybody wait 5 hours. And maybe they figured, hey, we put 5 plates on this. It'll make the armor timer so horribly long that these guys will just go home after downtime instead of sticking around. But obviously they don't know Dark Shines and Asher very well. So, and let me see if I can find me. I think I can find myself on here somewhere. I'm in here. How far down I am, but I have to see that. All right. Was that me? No. Where am I at? Control F Brisc. There I am. Look at that.
Wow. Look at this
guy.
Look at
that. In a Titan. That's how good. That's how good it is. There you go. See, I actually play this game sometimes. It's amazing.
Sometimes.
All right. So this made Gobbins very unhappy. Let's just say there was a lot of talking beforehand about how, we weren't definitely going to fight this Keep Star and what would happen if it's going to die and what would happen if the goons left before. I mean, here you can see in the bottom corner, Gobbins being like, Asher told him in the last fireside that, and this was before the armor timer, last fireside that the Keep Star will be killed. So it'd be a big egg on his face if they left without doing that. Or maybe they'll blame Fireco and peace out. Who knows? Well, no, we managed to kill everything. And that's how we're going to wrap this up. Now, the big question on everybody's mind right now is the war over? What are goons going to do now? What is the Imperium going to do now? What are all of these guys who've been up here defending B2 going to do? Are they going to declare victory and go home? Are they going to stick around and push into fraternity space? And I mean, let me tell you, that did happen. A little bit of fun was going on. We took a fight in Branch, and I'll show you. There was a nice little fight over 5 days ago in Branch where we killed a jump gate, and it was a pretty fun fight. And we lost a little bit, but the bad guys lost more. And that's Branch's straight up fraternity territory. So going in there and messing around, and to all my small gangers who hate Ansiblexes, well, we killed one for you, but there you go. There's also proof that these are content drivers for nullsec, which is part of the reason why they're in the game. Sorry if you don't like them. But the reality is we took this fight here in Branch, so we can push in. I know there was talk about potentially another fight. Well, let's not get to this part yet. That's coming up next. But there was talk about a fight in Venal on a Keep Star on Wednesday that never really materialized because the bad guys were able to outform us before we got there, and it wasn't a big deal. We were onlining a structure on a Keep Star that was going into an armor timer. They have a lot of keeps in Venal. It's NPC space, so it's relatively easy to attack. We don't have to worry about cyanojammers and those types of things. So if we want to stick around and attack Venal, we could do that. Or we could decide, hey, you know what? Our goals for this war when we started were to protect B2 and to get rid of all of the structures in B2 space. And B2 space, as much as we would like to say Venal and Fate are B2 space, a lot of it's NPC, but the B2 space that is owned and Sov of B2 is in Pure Blind, and that is all cleared out. This last keep is the last one. Now, there are some Entosis fights. They do have to take about 6 systems back from the bad guys in Pure Blind that Fraternity was able to take, and that's just Entosis fighting and everything. And I don't think they really need us for that, because frankly, we can't help when they're toasting their own stuff. So at the end of the day, this war could be over. I don't know. That'll be a decision for Asher and Darkshines and the crew to make, and whether or not we stick around or push forward, or whether or not we go home is up to them. Either way, there can be no doubt about the fact that this war is going to end with a clear-cut Imperium victory. We came up here, we did what we said we were going to do, and we can walk away knowing that Horde got bloodied, Fraternity lost a bunch of stuff, and they were pushed out of space they were trying to push into, and learned a valuable lesson. Now, what happens next? Could Fraternity come right back and drop 4 more keeps and make us do this all again? Sure. Sure. But Mark, do you think that's the kind of thing Nerouse would do? Do you think he would do that?
I don't know, man. He seems like a reasonable enough guy. It seems like he's not interested in wasting money, money that could be better spent elsewhere. So I don't know. Listen. Some people just anchor keeps left and right like it's no big deal, like willy nilly, and some people put in a little bit more effort. You know, so for some people it means a little bit more.
And to tie another cherry on top of this Horde bad week.
Tie a cherry on top.
Tie a cherry on top of this Horde bad week. I neglected to mention this before, and I should have probably done this before we got to X47, but this is just as good. And we saw this, we saw rumblings about this, and then it was posted on Reddit, and then it hit the wider media.
All right.
Which was one of the greatest recent, thanks for the fucking ad there, PC Gamer, one of the greatest heists in a while that took 2.2 trillion ISK from a significantly venerable and old Horde corporation. I have to say, this whole story, if you guys didn't see it, essentially these guys, and I have to say this is beautiful, they managed to pull off a CEO heist. How did they do that? Somehow, and we still are not 100% sure how this happened, these guys were able to manage to get enough shares of this corporation to start a CEO vote that enabled them to take over control of the corporation and then liquidate all the stuff in it. That's rare. You don't see that a lot, because most of these, and frankly, you don't see people using the whole shareholder functionality that's in the game very often, because I don't think anybody knows how to do that anymore. It's ancient shit. And the fact that these founder shares were still flying or lying around or anything, and they were able to pull off a heist like this in a 300-person, very old Horde corporation is pretty impressive.
I saw a screenshot where they walked away with something like 30 faction fortizars.
It was nuts. It was absolutely crazy. They had a ton of stuff. They had Liquid ISK, they had ships, they had all of those faction forts. And this is what happens. And I mentioned this on Reddit, and I'll say it again. This is what happens when you have completely AFK leadership who is not willing to give back control over the stuff that they have when they're AFK. Because the way that these CEO elections work, when you start the CEO election, it pings all the directors and says you have 72 hours to vote. And they had 72 hours to figure out that this stuff was happening. Let me link the article for you guys. And I won't pancake catch you, even though I really, really want to. They managed to, they sit there for 3 solid days just waiting for somebody in one of these groups to figure out what they did and nail them on it. And they never figured it out. Never figured it out. So in the span of a week, Horde loses the fight for their pets in X47. They've got random people bitching about rental space in what is not a propaganda post on Reddit, but turns into a pretty funny one that had a lot of upvotes and a lot of people saw. And then one of their random guys, helicopter dicks a Revenant and a Vendetta around and loses both of them. This has been a bad week for Horde. But I'm going to pivot to our top story now because it has been a very good week for our friends in Hole Control. So let me push the button to top story, and then we're going to stop talking about nullsec. We're going to start talking about wormholes for the rest of the show. Now, Jace, Lux, welcome to the Meta Show. This is your guys' both of your first time on the show. So I want to take a minute and just have you guys introduce yourself. So Jace, go ahead. Tell us a little bit about you and your experience in Hole Control as a member.
Yeah, I've been in Avanta. Well, before it was Avanta, I was as part of Arctic Light and unpublished. And then we joined Hole Control. I don't remember when. It's a long time ago. And now I'm part of the leadership group for some years now. I've somehow always now and then someone asks me, "Can you do this stuff?" And then
that's how you get sucked into it. You got to say no when they ask you. Don't agree to it.
I never learned to say no, so I've been doing stuff people ask me to do, and suddenly doing a sort of that kind
and
of
Lux,
stuff too.
How about you, Lux? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I've been with Avanto for about 3.5 years, about the time we moved to C5. And since my first year, I've been an active FC, doing all kinds of stuff. I'm also a board member as well, and excited to be here.
Now, I have to say, the history of keep stars and wormholes has been a little, how shall we say, spotty.
Tumultuous.
Just the tumultuous is fair. Mark, do you want to talk a little bit about keeps in wormhole space and what happens to them?
We talked a little bit about this ahead of the show, and anybody watching this show, all of you Imperium rats, probably know the torrid history of wormholes and keep stars. In the past, there have been two pretty major keep star deaths. Both of them came at the expense of our good friends in the now defunct Hard Knocks alliance.
Wait, they lost two keep stars?
They did.
You should
lose
tell
two
us all
keep
that
stars.
story. That would be great, Mark.
Yeah, it's a great story. I'm sure nobody's ever heard it before. Yes, at some time in the past, Hard Knocks did lose two keep stars to a wild number of initiative individuals. How they got in there, who can say? Who can say? But they did die, and a handful of other keeps have died as well. And it is a the thing about keep stars and wormhole, and the thing about anything in wormhole space is that and kind of what we all understand living out here is that if you anchor something, there's not an umbrella, right? There's not enough supers that you can stack on a grid. You can't rely on server mechanics. You're not going to push something into tie-dye. You can't have 800 titans sitting on your undock, right? You have to rely on what you've got in there and who you can get into your home at any given time. And you can't jump people into a wormhole. You have to rely on random number generation, right, to get your connects up. And it's fucking hot in here. These sunglasses are steaming up. Anyway, so
it's you, Mark.
It is me. It absolutely is me. It's West Georgia. It's a warm here. It's a warm day today. Anyway, so long and short of it is, if you can get enough people in, if you can get 1,000 people into a wormhole and do hole control, then there's very little that the residents are going to be able to do to stop you. And so that has put some people off of anchoring structures like keep stars, and put some people off of anchoring structures like faction fortizars too, because they're they get anxious. They don't want to risk that kind of investment financially. When somebody who's bigger and badder might come along and effectively lock them down and keep them from being able to do anything to defend their own structure. Well, that wasn't a problem for our good friends in Whole Control.
No, it was not.
It was not. I want to preface this by saying, before I get to you guys, because I need to talk to both of you about this, because this is insane. So last night, it was like maybe 9-10 o'clock at night Eastern time in the US, and I got a ping from a friend of mine. He says, "Hey man, have you heard about this shit with Whole Control?" And I said, "I have no idea what you're talking about." And he goes, "You need to start rolling your C5 right now. They're anchoring a keep star." Which at first I thought, and I told the guys beforehand, I thought it was a joke, because Whole Control is known for a lot of things. They are known for being insane Finnish individuals. They love, my understanding is saunas, vodka, and killing spaceships, which are all great, very good. So I thought maybe it was just a meme. Maybe it was I was getting bamboozled, but then I saw a screenshot of somebody anchoring a Keepstar in Avanta's C5 black hole, and we rolled for a while. My group did. I know a bunch of other groups were rolling all throughout U.S. time zone. Tons of people were rolling back then, and nobody was able to get in. So earlier today, about like an hour, 2 hours ago, the keep anchored. Lux, you gotta why what can you explain this a little bit?
Well, how to explain what happened? Because we can, of course.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, that's the only answer you need, right?
That's a good answer. That's a good answer.
You walk in the room, you zip down your pants, and you throw your keep star and your Marginus Fortizar on the table, and there you go.
So how long have you guys been working on this?
About 2 years. About 2 years, I think the idea started, and we did as much as we could from scratch. We wanted to make a group effort within Avanta of it, and as many people as could started doing PI in our wormhole to get the materials done for that one.
Oh my god! So you guys built this in the wormhole?
20,000.
You guys built this in the wormhole? That's crazy.
Yeah. Did everything we built there. We had to obviously bring in some materials to some P1s and P0s.
Yeah.
But because not everything was available in our wormhole, and lots of the minerals was brought in too, but everything was built on site.
CCP Psych, I need you to be listening to this, by the way. These poor wormholers had to haul in material for their Keepstar.
It took them 2 years to build this.
Yes,
2 years.
Do you hear this? Do you hear the cry of my people?
That's it.
Insane.
It's only going to take us a year of seeding that hole to kill it, though, because that's what happened the last time. I'm just saying.
So
who knows? Maybe you guys will do a better job than Hard Knocks. I bet you.
You guys have you now have this Keepstar. Now you had a faction for it. You had a Marginus Fortizar in there, very famous Marginus Fort. It was up for a long time, and it's gone now. It's not up anymore. And this is something that I think a lot of null sectors don't quite understand. So in wormhole space, we don't have asset safety, right? So if a structure dies or you unanchor a structure, everything in the structure gets jettisoned out into space. So what groups will do sometimes, they'll flip their structures, right? They'll anchor a fort, move everything from the old fort into the new fort, and then unanchor the old fort so that all the AFK stuff and just whatever detritus has collected over time just pops out into space, and then you can sort it out. And I've done it before. My group does it fairly routinely, where we'll flip a fort and kind of knock out whatever's just lingering around in there. But usually people, when they flip forts, they just kind of put down another fort. You guys flipped a fort and anchored a Keepstar. A little bit different than the normal strategy. So I guess my question is why? Like, not that I'm don't get me wrong, I'm not hating on this, Jace. It's fucking gangster, dude. But like, was it just because like, fuck it, might as well? Like, what? Just help me here. Help me understand.
Well, it was the group effort. We needed something to do with everyone who wanted to do some industry and pour some effort into a joint operation. And then someone said, well, we could do a Keepstar. Why not? That sounds like a good plan. We'll get it done in a year or two. And then we started working on it. Slowly and certainly people started doing PI towards the Keepstar. And suddenly something was done. And then from that, the first P4 that was all done, then it started rolling forward. And then it was actually quite fast from that one. And when we had it in the oven, then it was quite clear that we're just going to put it up when a suitable time comes. And we knew we wanted to flip the faction fort first to get some money into our SRP chest, which we think might need more now.
Yeah. So, okay, let me ask you a separate question. So, you did also anchor another faction fort, and we saw a picture of that just a minute ago. You anchored a Prometheus fort, which I think I understand why you anchored this fort, but I'm curious as to why you guys anchored this fort. Also, what's the name of this fort, Jace, if you don't mind telling everybody in the world?
Only Finns.
Only Finns. Wonderful. Yes. And so
nice.
why'd you choose the
Subscribe
Prometheus
on OnlyFins to all of your favorite Whole Control members.
Incredible.
So why we have that one? Actually, that's one of the original ones we took ourselves from Nordsec back in the day when they dropped out.
Really?
Yep.
Cool.
That's one of those.
I just assumed it was because of the stripper pole. That makes a lot more sense.
I mean, it helps, right?
Well,
it helps.
The stripper pole is actually the reason why it's that one. But once we had like the last faction fort we had was also one of the ones we took when they dropped, and we sort of wanted to have at least one of those all the time present to sort of remember that we have actually achieved the part of taking the nullsec, whatever you call it. We had some nullsec space, and we got the faction forts, and that's one way to remember it. And we wanted to continue with that one too. And plus, we had the previous fund for quite some time, so it was a good time to for a change of scenery and a new. Very excellent joke. I think everyone will laugh about it for quite some time.
Now, what I'm really excited about is this picture that we've got up here on the screen right now, because immediately after anchoring the Keepstar, my understanding is you did test the Doomsday to see if it worked. And can you confirm whether or not the Doomsday is operational? Because
I pressed F1 on that
one.
Magnificent. It wasn't by accident though, but yeah, I got the honors of. I actually got the honors of putting up the Keepstar, and that's the first and only building I ever anchored in.
That's extremely cool. So let me ask.
We have a video. We have a video from these guys. Let's play that real quick, and then we'll ask some more questions because I have a bunch of questions too. Yeah, so this is the video. They put this together, so we're going to watch this now. The video. They put this together, so we're going to watch this now. The video. They put this together, so we're going to watch this now. The video. They put this together, so we're going to watch this now. The video. They put this. Hold up. The sound's all jacked up. Give me a minute. There you go. I fixed it.
Nice.
Maybe. Oh, I know what it is. Stop.
There's just going to be straight up timers. The armor timer, it doesn't give you any advantage to have plates on it because there's no tie-dye and so forth. So I think it has like cap batteries. No, cap relays.
Relays, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or rechargers, whatever. Yeah.
Well, so to my second point, obviously, look, you guys have put this up. Everybody knows where it is. I was asking Mark before the show, because one of the photos you guys sent us over here had like the name of the wormhole in it and everything. Are they okay with that? And he's like, everybody knows where this is, dude. Everybody was trying to get in last night to mess with it. So this is putting a pretty big target on you guys. Was that part of the goal? Do you think this is going to generate some good fights for you?
We certainly hope.
Yeah.
All right, good.
We certainly hope we get to. Yeah, continue.
Sorry, I cut you off. But we could go back to the reasons of putting up a keep star real quick here. One of the main reasons is also that we have been living in Manila, which is our home system, for 3.5 years, and we're tired of it. It's a black hole effect, and we've seen it now. Please come and evict us. This is a nice kill mail. Bring your friends.
You know,
I love it. I love it.
You can move, right? Like, I mean, again, I'm not mad. I'm trying to understand. You can't just move.
It's much easier if someone helps us do it.
Just please come kill our stuff, guys. They're begging. How can we say no to this?
Incredible.
I mean, come on.
So, okay, I have another question too. So last night, and to preface this, you guys you're from Finland, which is not in the United States. I found out.
Is it not? Really?
It's not. I did a little bit of looking. So
I thought it was next to Minnesota.
You anchored it yesterday, about 26 hours ago now. But there was a big block of time there where you're not in EUTZ. You're in the where the Americans live, and they're all awake. And when they find out, immediately they're like, "Oh shit! Like we have to go." I know that we were rolling. I know that Singularity Syndicate was rolling. I know there were a handful. I assume Laserhawks was also rolling because they roll for everything. And there was a period of time there for like maybe 6 to 8 hours where you guys are in like low activity TZ, and the Americans are furiously rolling to try and get in. Were you afraid of what would happen? I mean, because it would, as cool as it is now, like it's extremely cool now. It would have been maybe less cool if it had died during the anchor. So I guess was there a plan, or were you just like, fuck it, we'll figure it out later?
Now you go ahead.
Our style usually is to more or less go ahead and figure as we go. We tend to have some plans though in advance and some idea on what we want to do, and we did haul at least a few corvettes to help in the defense if someone gets in.
Oh, good.
Well, obviously numbers to window during nighttime, that happens, but we had some friends to help there, and then also we have some active people who are willing to stay awake quite a bit, so that helps quite a lot, and just to keep the hole shut doesn't actually need that many numbers.
Right.
And obviously if someone rolls in an 80-man fleet, it's going to be difficult anyways.
Yeah.
And if the 80-strong fleet would have come in during the night hours when we are low in numbers, I don't think we would have been able to either way do anything much else than wait for a good fight.
Yeah, I mean, I know you guys have plenty of carriers. You could probably throw some at a hole to try and suicide them through, but you know, anybody who's anybody is going to pop through and just spam bubbles to try and keep them from going in and be a difficult position. But I mean, not to say you got lucky. Obviously, you guys seem to have done some kind of, some amount of preparation here. Everything went pretty well. So I would you say this is a job well done? This is mission accomplished?
Yep, definitely. And if you are if you're familiar with hull control warfare, there are ways of rolling a hull from under a hostile fleet as well. So we had plans and everything was set ready in case someone rolls in at the US time zone. But basically, since the timers are always going to be on our prime time, it's when we try and take the hull control, unless someone brings in like 1,000 dudes during the night, which might happen.
We were asking.
You never know.
Yeah, we were asking if there was if anybody had any insta lockers in home, and we did not. So we would not have been prepared for your tactics. But yeah, I mean, I as much as this this sounds like kind of an insane thing, I'm sure to some people. If the goal is to generate content, then oh Jesus Christ, you guys, you've certainly did the thing. I think you'll have no shortage of content now. Especially if maybe not on the keep grid. Maybe not right.
We certainly hope so. We will get more content. That's
the
what
content is king. That's what we're always looking for.
It is king.
Yeah.
So how many keep stars are there in wormhole space now, Mark?
There are two.
There are two. So this is number 2.
This is number 2. So the other keep star is owned by Goran Clade, who is associated with Hydra. They have a keep star in a C2, which is as impressive and a feat as this was that you guys did building this thing in your C5. It is maybe more impressive what Goran did, because you can't put freighters into a C2, so they had to haul in all of the minerals with DSTs. And they actually had to build an Asbel so that they could build, or I guess they could, they had to build an Asbel anyway, so they could build the keep and also build the freighter to carry the keep, because you can't get the freighter in. So that one would be a pain in the ass to deal with. But this one, I mean, there are 2. There have been 5 that have died. We looked at that just a little bit ago. 5 that have died. 2 from Hard Knocks. 1 from. Let me go back here real quick. I had it pulled up.
Who could have possibly been so mean to Hard Knocks as to kill their keep stars?
I know. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. There were 2 from Hard Knocks, 1 from Inner Hell, and I had it pulled up.
The Inner Hell one was the most recent one to die, right?
It was the Inner Hell one, and I'm pretty sure. I think Inner Hell may have killed themselves, but I may be misremembering that. Either way, so now there are 2. There was 1, and now there are 2. Goran's not really using theirs to generate much content, but I get the feeling that Hull Control won't have that problem. So I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm a little bummed we weren't able to get in last night. We really wanted to at least, maybe not win a fight, but at least have a fight. And Bob didn't give us the connection we wanted, but yeah.
What were you guys going to bring, Mark? If you were going to go fight these guys, what were you going to bring? Not paladins, obviously, but
it was paladins.
It was paladins.
It was paladins.
Son of a bitch.
We had. Listen, I'm not happy about it, but it was paladins. We had. We had my corp's not that big. Certainly not as big as Hull Control. But a lot of people were talking. We're trying to see who could get in first, and see if we could make a way in for other people. But we had a couple dreads, we had triage, we had paladins, and a zillion dictors. We called up some friends in low sec who were going to bring like 30 dictors just to come and spam bubbles all over the place for us. But again, it ended up not being a problem, or I guess not a problem for our friends in Hull Control, because as far as I know, nobody got in, right? Wait, you said Riho did?
No, I don't, like. Someone was, I think, yesterday evening there for a while, but we rolled them out, or they rolled them out. I don't know. There was some content to be had. There was an extra connection, but we didn't. No one did anything with it except roll it away, which was a bit boring.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
how long did you guys have to maintain Hull Control overall?
24 hours.
Like 24 literal hours. You were out there, everybody. That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, obviously I went to sleep at some point, but as many others did too.
Yeah, shout outs to Cass from Rasa. I love you, man.
Hell yeah, dude.
He's good.
I'm excited. I appreciate you guys coming on to talk about this. I was talking to Hotkin earlier. Hotkin is the Hawken your CEO? Or just a Diplo?
No, Hotkin is another board member from Avanta, and
I was-
also I think in the Alliance, or at least should be probably. I don't remember.
I was talking to Hawken about this and about wanting to get one of you guys on to come talk about it, because I was like, this is insane. This hasn't happened in such a long time. And he goes, okay, I know who you can talk to. You can talk to Jace and you can talk to Lux, because they are the only two who are still able to speak discernible English when they're drunk. So I assume everybody else is pretty deep in it at this point.
Probably.
It's late. What is it? Almost 11 o'clock your guys' time or PM? So it's late.
12 midnight.
There you go. It's midnight.
midnight.
So there you go. Midnight in Finland right now. So
Yeah.
What do you have?
I got to give you guys credit for this. I mean,
Yeah.
even from a nullsec, even as a jaded nullsec guy who has killed more keep stars than most people have ever seen, the idea that you guys did this, and not only that you did it over 2 years, you built the thing in place, and you managed to hold control long enough to keep guys like Mark out. That's pretty good. I know Jackson in the chat is reminding me, like, we did a lot of hold control during the Rage eviction, but it's a little easier to do hold control when you've got 500 or 600 of your best friends with you, as opposed to, you guys doing it with probably 40, 50 people, I would assume. Right. So that's, pretty good. I'm impressed by that. And I'm looking forward. I mean, I want to see what happens. I want to see what happens next. I want to see if anybody has the balls to come and try to mess with you guys in there.
Well,
Now, I assume,
well,
and I mean, that's what you're looking for.
There and
Yeah, Mark,
some
are you going to do it?
to feed his capitals in there.
Are you going to help? Are you going to try?
I would certainly, we were happy to feed. I would have gladly fed my Moros Navy to you guys last night if I'd had a connection. But it just didn't work out last night. But it'll work out in the future. We'll figure it out.
You're welcome.
The fact that this is in a C5 where you can get caps through, I think is probably makes it a little easier for attackers to might have like a legitimate shot. Now, this is a black hole system, right? What are the black hole effects that you guys get in there?
Oh boy.
The ships go faster, they align slower, and the missiles fly further.
Okay. Well, that sounds great for Ravens, but I don't know if we have enough Ravens to get back in there again. Let me just tell you. So.
Well, before, I know we're getting close to time here. Before we go, boys, you guys have anybody else you want to say shout out to or anything? I mean, I know you've this is a huge community effort. The Whole Control community, for those of you who don't know, Whole Control is one of the oldest institutions in wormhole space. You guys have been around for, I feel like, ever. And it is if you talk about the last of the big wormhole alliances, the ones that have really stood the test of time, Whole Control is right up there with Hawks, right up there with Singularity Syndicate, right up there with HK before they sadly passed away. So if you guys have anything else you want to say, please go ahead and do it now.
Lux, you want to start?
Yeah, sure. Thanks to everyone in Whole Control. Thanks to our hosts for having us. And shout outs to Kyler Blackwell from Turbo as well. We go way back. I hope I'll see you on the grid again.
Hell yeah,
with
dude.
Mark as well.
What about you, Jace? You got anybody?
Well, I want to emphasize the Whole Control part that we actually got so many guys from the rest of the Alliance to help us out on this one, and especially EU, outside of EU times, and that meant a lot.
Cool. This is cool, man. I'm excited.
This is really cool. It's good news, and it's fun, and it's something that is an achievement. It took you guys a long time to pull this off, so I'm glad we could showcase it today on the show.
Hey,
but that's all the time we have for today.
The timing of it was perfect too, because
right as we're getting ready to get started.
As we're ready to do the show, so it was great.
We got to grab these guys. We're going to talk about breaking news here on the Meta Show. The onlining of the second Cape Star in J-Space in Whole Control's home system. So
the show could have been 30 minutes earlier.
I know, we could have done it live, right? We could have had video from in there of when it's onlining. So, all right. Programming note: next week is April 22nd. We will not be doing the show next week. I will be in Las Vegas to join a number of our Imperium friends for a going away party for our dearly departed friend Scott O'Neill Piercing, who passed away last year. We're getting together in his favorite spot to remember him. So I will be in Vegas next week with a lot of my Imperium buddies. So we will not be doing the show. The week after, we'll be back. We'll be ready to talk about all things nullsec, all things wormhole. I'm sure in that time period, Mark will have made another trillion ISK in blue loot, because that's what he does. There's his blue loot bling. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. Jace, Lux from Hull Control, Mark, as always, from Turbo Feeder Glory, and I am Brisc Rubal from The Initiative. This has been the Meta Show for April the 15th, 2023. You stay classy, New Eden.